So this is a FLYRUIT large digital photo frame. It has a 15.6 inch full HD display, so it's a 1920 by 1080 IPS 16 by 9 ratio. They say it uses the Frameo app. It has 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, and you can share photos and footages. I'm thinking footages or maybe short video clips. So I was sent this to review for free. If you wanted to purchase it, it would cost you about $130. They haven't paid me for my review, and my opinions remain my own. Alright, so in the box we have a user's manual and a troubleshooting guide, as well as the digital picture frame itself packaged in foam. It doesn't feel super heavy. And that is large. You know, this is a large photo frame. It's significantly larger than your kind of typical 10-inch photo frames I've seen a lot of. So on the back, we have a SD card slot, a full-sized SD card slot, not a micro SD card slot. We have a headphone jack, a USB-A port, a USB-C port. We also have a DC-in barrel connector. And it says model number M15R2, and the power is 12 volts at 1.5 amps. There's also an FCC ID number in there. And there are mounting points here. It looks like there's a 4 kind of things that you might even be able to use kind of your standard monitor stands with. And then there's a 5th knob here, there that can move to here or here. And then there's a power button on the back. Now, in addition to that, there's this stand, so you can have this in kind of, you know, portrait or landscape mode, and this guy here can hook into, you know, either that one there or this one here as a stand for kind of on a you know, table or desktop. Now, they don't appear to include any wall mounting solution. So there's not like a keyhole where you can just put a nail in the wall and hang it up. You're going to have to buy something that will connect into these 4 points, like a wall mount monitor mounting system to wall mount this guy. So power adapter included here, standard US plug. It says 12 volts at 1.5 amps. It has a small barrel connector at the end. It doesn't look like it's a super long power cord. So let's see how long this guy is. Yeah, that's just about exactly a 6-foot cord. So if you're mounting this on a bookcase or a desk and you have, you know, power behind the bookcase or desk, that's fine. If you want to mount it up on a wall, you have essentially 6 feet of cable to your outlet or your extension cord. Alright, I plugged it in, it said welcome, it's loading some things. And it's telling you never disconnect the power while it's running. Alright, it took about 60 seconds to boot up. Now we have the initial setup. It says English is already chosen, so I'm going to push the next arrow down here, and we just have to pick a Wi-Fi network. Alright, we've got it connected to Wi-Fi. We have to pick a time zone. So it already has the date and time correct. I presume it got that from the internet. And now it wants to update the firmware. So I'm just going to push this button, and it's going to download and install the update. Alright, it says I was updated, it's at the newest version, and there's settings, there's a power button, and there's add a friend. And so if you want to send pictures to your frame, you need to install the Frameo app and add yourself as a friend. So I added myself as a friend, and I went into the settings under my friends, and I'm allowing myself to share the code for the frame, to see the photos on the frame, and to manage the photos on the frame. So I believe that means in my app now I'll be able to edit the photos on the frame from the app. So I just grabbed a random photo, I push the send button, I say hey, send it to my frame, and it has a thing where you can write a caption. It looks like you can skip the caption if you'd like. And then you have to adjust the photo so this circle contains what you're most interested in, and send it. Alright, it took like a second and the photo has appeared on my frame. Now my frame is also displaying a clock and the temperature, so I'm assuming I have to go into settings to remove that if I don't want to have that. There's also a pop-up that says you've received a new photo and a new friend was added. So in the settings they have a lot of options. I'm assuming I can change the temperature, temperature units, date and time. I'm assuming there's some place where I can say, hey, don't display this, don't display that. There's a sleep mode where it turns off at certain times. So under the slideshow settings, you can turn off the caption, the photo of the profile of the person who shared the photo, the clock, and the weather. So if you want nothing but photos, you can turn off all the extraneous decorations. You can also adjust how long each photo is shown, and if you're going to fill the frame or if you're going to kind of crop the photos. So you know how you're going to manage photos that are not the 16:9 setup. And then the frame background is filled with blurred bars, black bars, or a colored gradient, is how you handle photos that are not filling the frame. Alright, so this is what it looks like when you send a photo that's not 16:9 ratio. The bars here on the side do blur bars. You can choose black bars or a color gradient instead if you'd like. So for any particular photo you can say, hey, fit it in the frame or fill the frame. And if you adjust the frame portrait versus landscape, it auto detects that and will change the photo's orientation correctly. So if you don't want to use the internet or the app, you can transfer photos using a USB connection or with external storage. I'm assuming that's the SD card you plug into it. And you can export the photos out to the external storage. Now it does have a thing here for videos where you can adjust the volume and playback on the videos. It says played once, autoplay, that type of thing. They have backup and restore options where you can back up to a cloud backup. And then you can also set up an external storage backup where you would plug in a card. And you can restore from backup. Alright, if you want to use the cloud backup feature, you need to be a Frameo Plus member, which I'm assuming costs money. Alright, I put 50 photos on this micro SD card, and we're just going to slide it in here. And it says, hey look, external storage was found. So it says external storage. Do you want to play it? Do you want to import it? Or do you want to back up to it? So I'm going to say import. And it's showing me the thumbnails will load significantly slower because multiple of the photos are progressive JPEGs. So okay. And so here's all of these photos. And I believe I can select these photos to import. Alright, I hit this little button up top and it is now importing 53 photos. If you have an SD card plugged in the backup and restore, it has external storage backup and it just did it for me. And you can basically say, hey, automatically back up. It's turned on, so I think like every day it's going to back anything up. Or you can hit the backup now button and it will copy everything across. Alright, and there is a green sticky thing here which I believe is going to pull off a protective sheet. Yeah, there's the protective sheet coming off. So this is a comparison to a kind of 10-inch screen. I also believe that it's brighter from a screen brightness standpoint. So that gives you an idea, you know, kind of digital photo frame comparison there. All right, so just sitting here displaying a photo. The draw is about 5 watts, so it's a pretty minimal power draw. You can also plug a USB-A flash drive directly into the back and it will recognize it is external storage, and you can import off of it or back up to it. So it has a USB-C port, but that's only useful for plugging into a computer. It will not be powered by the USB-C port, so it does not do USB-C power delivery. You have to power it by that 12-volt barrel connector. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with this digital photo frame. Image quality is just fine. Getting photos onto it is pretty easy, either using the app over Wi-Fi or by plugging in just physical SD cards or a USB flash drive, or connecting it to your computer with a USB cable. A couple of features I'd like it to have that it doesn't have is the ability to be powered by a USB-C power delivery cable, and have an email address where you can just email a photo directly to it without having to use their phone app. The screen is reflective, so you can get glare from overhead lights in particular angles.